Taekook fan fiction, boy x boy love story. Please do not take it very seriously. It is for entertainment purposes only. When the strict policeman got married to the sassy handsome brat, Jungkook stood tall under the fading golden sky, his police badge glinting with the last rays of the sun. At 34, he was the epitome of discipline, broad-shouldered, piercing eyes, clean-cut uniform pressed without a wrinkle. His presence alone could silence a room. He was known as the strictest officer in the Seoul Police Department, the kind who never bent a rule, not even slightly. He had once been different, warmer, hopeful. That was before betrayal shattered him. The woman he loved had chosen someone else, playing with his heart like it meant nothing. Since then, Jungkook had built a fortress around himself, letting no one in except his family, his parents, and his beloved little brother, Jimin. Jimin was 10 years younger, a bright college student full of life, smiles, and questions. He was everything Jungkook was not: warm, expressive, affectionate. Their bond was unbreakable. Jungkook could drop everything if Jimin even coughed oddly. But there was one complication in that bond. Jimin's best friend, Kim Taehyung. Taehyung was chaos personified. He dyed his hair a new color every other month, wore earrings shaped like dragons, and talked back to professors and police officers alike. He had a flirtatious smile and a devil-may-care attitude. Most importantly, Taehyung loved breaking rules just to see how far he could go, which made Jungkook loathe him instantly. One day Jimin insisted on Taehyung to come over for dinner, so he called Jungkook, his older brother, to let him know. "Hyung, we're coming over for dinner," Jimin called one Friday evening. "Who's we?" Jungkook asked warily, wiping down his kitchen counter. "Me and Taehyung," Jimin answered, cheerful as ever. Jungkook sighed, silently cursing his little brother's love for chaos. When the door opened, Taehyung walked in like he owned the place, dressed in ripped jeans, a mesh shirt that definitely wasn't weather appropriate, and a lollipop in his mouth. "Officer John," he smirked, removing the candy slowly. "Still as stiff as ever? Take your feet off the coffee table," Jungkook snapped immediately. Taehyung grinned, challenging, and said, "You gonna arrest me for that?" Jungkook's jaw ticked. Jimin laughed nervously between them, trying to diffuse the tension, but even he couldn't ignore the electric current between the two men. Jungkook thought Taehyung was a brat. Taehyung thought Jungkook needed to be broken just a little. Some introduction. The Kim family was known across Seoul's elite circles for their wealth, charm, and modern sensibilities. Mr. and Mrs. Kim owned several businesses, from high-end boutiques to real estate investments, and lived in a gated mansion adorned with fountains and art pieces that cost more than some homes. Despite their riches, they were grounded people who valued respect and discipline. Their only son, Kim Taehyung, was raised with everything money could buy: the best schools, tailored clothes, luxury vacations, but also with love and attention. He was spoiled, yes, but not arrogant. He had a mischievous glint in his eye and a quick, bratty tongue that loved teasing people, especially those who took life too seriously. But beneath that chaotic energy, Taehyung was deeply responsible. He volunteered at animal shelters, protected Jimin like a hawk, and never let his jokes cross a line of disrespect. When things got serious, so did he. He just had a unique way of balancing rebellion with sincerity. Unfortunately, Jungkook never saw that side of him. To Jungkook, Taehyung was a reckless flirt who had no concept of rules. Every encounter with him ended in either sarcasm, mockery, or some minor form of rule-breaking. Jungkook couldn't stand him. He was everything Jungkook disliked: flashy, loud, unpredictable. So when Mr. and Mrs. Kim suddenly took an interest in Jungkook, It caught everyone off guard. It started with casual meetings. Whenever Jungkook came to drop Jimin off at the Kim's estate, since Jimin and Taehyung were inseparable, he'd politely greet Mr. and Mrs. Kim, staying no longer than necessary. But his manners, poise, and strict sense of order impressed the elder Kims. "He reminds me of a young me," Mr. Kim had said one evening. Mrs. Kim smiled, sipping her tea. "He could be the balance Taehyung needs." Mr. Kim nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe we should suggest something." A week later, the John family received a formal invitation to dinner at the Kim mansion. Jungkook hadn't even planned to go until his parents insisted. "Why are they inviting all of us?" Jungkook asked, adjusting his shirt collar. His mother smiled mysteriously. "You'll see." Seated at a long mahogany table, over a luxurious 5-course meal, Mr. Kim finally said it, calmly, clearly. "We were wondering," he began, looking directly at Jungkook, "if you would consider getting engaged to our son, Taehyung." Silence dropped like a bomb. Jungkook nearly dropped his glass. What?" he blinked. Mrs. Kim chuckled softly. "We've seen the way you carry yourself, Jungkook. You're disciplined, grounded, and focused. Taehyung, he's the opposite in many ways. But we believe that's exactly what makes you a perfect match." Jungkook's jaw tightened. "I'm 10 years older than him." "Yes," Mr. Kim said. "But age doesn't determine compatibility. Balance does." Jungkook turned to his parents, eyes wide in disbelief. "You didn't tell me about this." Mr. John cleared his throat, looking sheepish. "We wanted you to hear it from them first. But son, this isn't a bad offer. The Kims are a respected family, and it's not forced. It's a suggestion with sincerity." "I don't even like him," Jungkook blurted before he could stop himself. "He's irresponsible, childish, always breaking rules just for fun." "You think he's just a brat?" Mrs. Kim said gently. "Maybe spend more time with him. You might see what we see." Jungkook shook his head. "This is absurd. I'm a police officer. He's a student who admires you more than he lets on." Jimin suddenly cut in, eyes pleading. Everyone turned to look at the younger John. "I know Taehyung's silly sometimes," Jimin continued, "but he respects you, Hyung. He just doesn't know how to show it to someone who always looks at him like he's a criminal." Jungkook rubbed his face with both hands. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. But when his mother placed a hand on his arm, she whispered softly, "Just consider it, Jungkook. No one's forcing you. But sometimes love doesn't come where you expect it. It comes where it's needed most." And somehow, that stayed with him all night. The engagement between Jungkook and Kim Taehyung was more of a contract than a celebration. There were no dreamy gazes or blushing smiles, just polite nods, tight-lipped congratulations, and an expensive diamond ring that looked more like a shackle than a symbol of love. They stood side by side at the engagement ceremony, dressed impeccably, surrounded by flashing cameras and clinking glasses. But the air between them was cold, dry, and unwelcoming. Everyone had their reasons. The Kims believed Jungkook's discipline could balance out Taehyung's impulsiveness. The Johns believed Taehyung's warmth might soften Jungkook's walls. But neither of the young men believed in the match. And unfortunately, fate didn't give them a peaceful start either. Every time something chaotic happened on Taehyung's campus, be it a parking violation, a noisy art protest, or an unauthorized flash mob, Taehyung's name somehow ended up in the center of it. And every single time, Jungkook heard about it first through his contacts in the police department. One time, Jungkook saw him standing outside campus with a spray-painted canvas and dragged him straight into the back seat of his patrol car. "You really can't stay out of trouble for more than a day, can you?" he snapped, not even looking at Taehyung. "It was a charity art protest. You'd know if you bothered to listen before handcuffing me like a criminal," Taehyung hissed. Another time, Taehyung was caught arguing with a professor who had insulted a fellow student. Jungkook saw the incident on security footage and once again assumed the worst. "You pick fights like it's your part-time job," Jungkook muttered. Taehyung's lips trembled. "I was defending someone, but of course you wouldn't believe that." As the misunderstandings piled up, so did Taehyung's frustration. He tried to talk to his parents, begged them to let him out of the arrangement. "He doesn't even like me. He treats me like a suspect, not a fiancé." But Mrs. Kim only sighed. "You don't always see what's good for you, Taehyung. Jungkook is stability. And I'm not allowed to want love instead of discipline?" Taehyung whispered. Despite everything, the wedding happened. It was beautiful, grand, lavish, a palace of flowers and string quartets. But inside, Jungkook and Taehyung stood like two strangers tied together by a decision that wasn't theirs. After the ceremony, they moved into a large house. A gift from both families, but it felt more like a shared office than a home. They barely spoke. Meals were silent. They slept on opposite ends of the bed. Jungkook buried himself in work, and Taehyung found himself wondering if he'd ever feel warmth again. One night he broke. Jungkook didn't even notice that Taehyung had been sitting by the window for hours, waiting for him to say something, anything, even a good night. But all he got was silence. So at 2:13 a.m., Taehyung changed into black jeans, a glittery shirt, and slipped out of the house. He didn't even know where he was going until he saw the neon lights of a nearby club. He just wanted to feel again. The music was loud. Bodies moved like shadows. Taehyung drank fast, too fast. At first, he just danced alone, letting the beat swallow the ache in his chest. But then a man approached, tall, charming, whispering compliments in his ear. Taehyung laughed bitterly, unable to focus, unaware that the man's hand had started trailing down his waist, sliding too low. And that's when someone across the room noticed. Officer Min Yoongi, Jungkook's oldest and most loyal patrol partner, was at the bar when he saw Taehyung, his best friend's husband, drunk, barely standing, with a stranger pressing up against him. His eyes widened. He texted Jungkook immediately. "Your husband is at Club Vega, drunk, with a guy trying to touch him." Jungkook exploded. He drove like a madman, lights off, sirens in his mind. The moment he entered the club, his eyes scanned for Taehyung, and when he saw him slouched on a couch, mascara smudged, a stranger's hand too close to his thigh, something snapped. Jungkook shoved the man away. "Touch him again, and you'll wish you were never born," he growled. The man scurried off. Taehyung blinked up at Jungkook, eyes glassy. "Kooky?" he slurred. But Jungkook didn't feel tender. He felt betrayed, humiliated, furious. "You want to throw yourself at strangers because I didn't give you enough attention?" he hissed. "Is that what you need to feel alive? You're pathetic, Taehyung." Taehyung froze. The tears that had been threatening to fall suddenly poured. "You think I went looking for this? I didn't even know he was touching me. You expect me to believe that? When you left the house dressed like that." That sentence, "dressed like that," cut deeper than any insult. Jungkook regretted it the moment he said it. But it was too late. Taehyung's shoulders crumbled. "I can't do this anymore," he whispered. "You don't even see me." The days that followed were quiet. Too quiet. Taehyung no longer made sarcastic remarks. He didn't hum while brushing his teeth. He barely ate. His eyes had lost that spark. The mischief that used to annoy Jungkook now haunted him in its absence. Jimin, who had been away on a school trip, returned to find his best friend a shadow of himself. He stormed into the station and slammed a file on Jungkook's desk. "I trusted you," he said through clenched teeth. "I thought you'd take care of him, but all you did was crush him. Jimin. He didn't even want to marry you, Jungkook, but he did. For his family. And for you. And what did you do? You treated him like a criminal. Like he wasn't worthy of love." Jungkook said nothing, because every word Jimin threw at him was true. And for the first time in years, Jungkook didn't know what to do. But he knew one thing. He had to fix it. Because maybe, just maybe, he had fallen for the boy who broke every rule. The house was eerily quiet when Jungkook came home. The hallway lights flickered softly, casting long shadows along the polished wood floor. He placed his keys down with a heavy sigh, loosening the collar of his uniform shirt. His mind hadn't been still since the night at the club. Since the words he threw at Taehyung like daggers had cut far deeper than he'd intended. "Taehyung?" he called, but only silence answered. The rooms were empty, the kitchen dark. The only sign of life was the soft sound of wind, coming from the balcony. Jungkook stepped outside, and there he was, Taehyung, curled into himself, sitting on the cold floor of the balcony, his head buried in his knees. His shoulders trembled with soft, broken sobs. An open bottle of wine stood beside him, almost empty. Hadn't even noticed Jungkook's presence. For the first time, Jungkook saw it. Not the brat, not the rule breaker, but a boy trying to be loved in a house that never gave it to him. He moved slowly, kneeling beside him. "Taehyung." Taehyung lifted his head, and his eyes, red, puffy, shining with tears, met Jungkook's. The pain in them crushed him. "Don't," Taehyung whispered hoarsely, scooting slightly away. "Don't talk to me like you didn't break me the other night. Taehyung, you thought I was that kind of person," he said, laughing bitterly. "The kind who gets drunk and lets strangers touch them for attention. I didn't mean it that way." "But you did, Jungkook," Taehyung snapped, voice shaking. "You did. You looked at me like I was disgusting, like I was cheap. You called me pathetic and humiliated me when I didn't even know what was happening around me. I was angry. I lost control." Taehyung stood, wobbling a little. "You always lose control when it comes to me. You never listen. You judge me before I can even speak." Jungkook rose too slowly. "You were drunk, alone in a club. Do you expect me not to panic? I expect you to trust me," Taehyung shouted. "I expected my husband, not the officer, when I was crying for help. I expected someone who'd pull me into a hug, not drag me with his words." The silence stretched between them, heavy and choking. Jungkook stepped closer. "I'm sorry, Taehyung. I'm so sorry. I've been cruel. But I swear to you I didn't mean it. He swallowed hard. "I care. More than I should. And it terrifies me." Taehyung scoffed. "You care? You never even look at me like I'm human. You never try to understand me, Jungkook." His voice cracked. "I wanted to be loved by you. I tried. I thought maybe if I stayed, maybe you'd soften. But all I get is cold silence or accusations." Jungkook moved to reach out, but Taehyung stepped back. "No, I can't breathe here," he said. "I need air." He turned and stormed inside. "Taehyung, wait!" Jungkook chased after him as Taehyung grabbed his keys off the counter. "You've been drinking. You're not driving," Jungkook shouted, trying to block the door. "Don't pretend you care now," Taehyung yelled back, eyes shining with tears. And before Jungkook could reach him, Taehyung slipped out, slammed the door behind him, and started the car. Damn it! Jungkook ran to the garage, threw on his jacket, and grabbed the keys to his police vehicle. Didn't care about protocol, he had to get to Taehyung. The rain started pouring. The roads blurred under flashing lights and cold asphalt. Jungkook's heart was pounding as he sped through the streets, tracking Taehyung's car a few blocks ahead. He was too focused, too desperate, voice trembling as he muttered, "Come on, just stop, Tae." But the roads were slick. The turn was too sharp. And then it happened. A sharp swerve, a blinding light, the thunder of steel crashing into a thick metal pole. The airbags deployed. Shattered glass flew. Pain exploded in his chest. Taehyung's rearview mirror caught the violent impact. He slammed the brakes. No! He jumped out of the car barefoot, sprinting in the rain toward the wreckage. Jungkook's car was crumpled. Blood on the windshield. No! Jungkook! He reached the door, pulling at the handle with trembling fingers. Help! Someone help! He pulled his phone from his pocket with shaking hands and screamed into the line. 911. Please. It's my husband. He crashed. He's not moving. Send help, please. Rain soaked through his clothes, but he didn't care. He dropped to his knees beside the wreck, sobbing, whispering, "You stupid idiot. Why did you chase me? Why didn't you let me leave?" For days passed. Taehyung didn't leave the hospital room once. He sat beside Jungkook's bed, holding his hand, refusing to sleep. Jimin came and went, bringing food he never ate. Taehyung whispered to the unconscious man about everything. His pain, his regrets, and all the things he had been too proud to admit. "I never wanted to leave," he whispered one night, forehead resting against Jungkook's hand. "I just wanted to be seen by you. I wanted you to look at me and see me, not just the troublemaker in your reports." And on the fourth morning, a soft sound broke the quiet. A groan. Taehyung sat up immediately. "Jungkook?" he gasped. Jungkook blinked slowly, eyes adjusting to the lights. "Tae?" Tears streamed down Taehyung's face as he grabbed his hand. "You're awake. Oh my God. I thought I lost you." Jungkook's voice was hoarse. "You never left?" Taehyung laughed through his tears. "Of course not, you stubborn bastard." Jungkook smiled faintly. "Still insulting me even after I nearly died. You scared the hell out of me." There was a long pause. And then, "I'm sorry," Jungkook whispered, "for everything. I was wrong." Taehyung nodded, eyes soft. "We both were. But I'll stay. If you'll finally learn to love me, not change me." Jungkook squeezed his hand gently. "No more trying to change you. I just want to know you. For real this time." And from that moment on, they started over. Small steps, a warm breakfast together, quiet walks in the garden, inside jokes that didn't sting. Jungkook opening up about his past betrayal. Taehyung learning to meet him halfway. And slowly, not as husbands, not as strangers, but as two men finally falling in love. Jungkook's recovery was slow, but each day brought a new rhythm to their lives. He'd wake up to find Taehyung already in his hospital chair, sipping iced coffee, scrolling through his phone. Though Jungkook knew most of the time, Taehyung wasn't paying attention to the screen at all. He'd sneak glances, waiting for Jungkook's groggy smile, always meeting it with an exaggerated, "Finally, Sleeping Beauty wakes." Jungkook would scowl playfully, only to melt when Taehyung leaned in with a kiss to his temple and whispered, "Glad you didn't leave me, Officer Grump." It was different now. The way Jungkook looked at him, tender, open, lingering on every little gesture Taehyung made. And Taehyung, though still his mischief-filled self, carried a softness in his touch whenever he adjusted Jungkook's blanket or fed him soup, pretending to be annoyed when Jungkook made a mess. One night, as Taehyung helped him brush his teeth, grinning with foam on his nose, Jungkook stared at him quietly before murmuring, "I think I'm in love with you." Taehyung blinked, frozen for a second, before gently resting his forehead against Jungkook's. When Jungkook was finally discharged, Taehyung guided him gently into their car, refusing to let him lift a single bag. "I'm not made of glass," Jungkook muttered, watching Taehyung buckle his seatbelt. "You are to me," Taehyung replied, before kissing his knuckles. "Now shut up, husband." A week later, on a lazy Sunday morning, Taehyung was still in bed when Jungkook walked in holding an envelope. "What's this?" Taehyung asked, sitting up with a yawn. Jungkook smiled nervously. "A honeymoon package. Europe. For cities, 10 days. Just us." Taehyung's eyes widened. "Wait, really? I figured," Jungkook said, sitting beside him. "Since our first months were filled with misunderstandings and crash landings, maybe we could restart properly." Taehyung grabbed the envelope, stared at it, then lunged at Jungkook, knocking him back on the bed, straddling him. "I knew you had a romantic bone somewhere in that rule-filled body," he whispered against his lips. Jungkook smirked. "You bring it out of me." Europe was a dream, from the winding canals of Venice to the lavender fields in Provence, and the glittering nights in Paris. Taehyung and Jungkook were inseparable. They kissed beneath the Eiffel Tower. The air in the honeymoon suite was thick with heat and desire. The golden glow of candlelight danced across their bare skin as Jungkook hovered over Taehyung, their bodies flush against each other on the silky white sheets. Taehyung's fingers tangled in Jungkook's hair, eyes fluttering closed as Jungkook kissed down the curve of his neck. Slow, hungry, reverent. But suddenly Jungkook stopped. His voice came low, rough like thunder behind a smoldering storm. "Open your eyes." Taehyung blinked up at him, breathless, lips parted. "I want to see you," Jungkook whispered, cupping his face gently. "I want to see every reaction you give me, every breath, every tremble." "Jungkook." Taehyung's voice was shaky, needy. "Look at me," Jungkook demanded softly, but with authority that sent shivers through Taehyung's spine. "Don't close your eyes, not even for a second." He began to move again. Deep, slow thrusts, his hips rolling into Taehyung with controlled precision. His gaze never broke away. Taehyung's head tipped back, mouth open in a silent moan, but Jungkook's hand slid behind his neck, pulling him close. "No. Right here," Jungkook said, eyes blazing. "Let me see how good I make you feel." Taehyung whimpered, locking eyes with him, and the sheer intensity made his stomach flutter. Jungkook's dark gaze burned into him, drinking in every flushed cheek, every twitch of pleasure. "God, you're so beautiful," Jungkook groaned, his voice cracking with lust. "Do you feel what you do to me? Do you feel how you ruin me?" Taehyung gasped as Jungkook's fingers traced over his chest, his hip down between them. The added stimulation made his entire body quake. "Every time I touch you," Jungkook whispered, pressing kisses to Taehyung's cheek, "you fall apart like you were made for me." Taehyung moaned, back arching as his body shivered under the overwhelming heat. "I am," he whispered. "I'm only yours." The confession made Jungkook snap. He pinned Taehyung's wrists above his head, thrusting deeper now, but still slow and steady, savoring every sound, every tremble. "I'll never let you go," Jungkook growled against his ear. "I'll love you like this until you forget every second you ever felt unloved." Taehyung was unraveling, tears brimming in his eyes from the sheer intensity, the emotion, the aching need. "I'm close," he gasped, barely able to hold on. "I know," Jungkook breathed, leaning down and brushing his lips against Taehyung's while moving inside him in perfect rhythm. "Let go while looking at me. I want to watch you fall apart for me." And when Taehyung did, eyes locked with Jungkook's, body trembling and mouth parting in a cry of pure pleasure, it was the most beautiful thing Jungkook had ever seen. He followed right after, burying his face in Taehyung's neck, groaning his name like it was sacred. Afterwards, they lay tangled in sweat and love, breathless and stunned by what they had just shared. Jungkook reached out, brushing hair off Taehyung's forehead. "I meant every word." Taehyung smiled, cheek flushed. "Then say it again." "I love you," Jungkook whispered. "Every inch, every sound, every expression, all of you." Taehyung smiled through hazy eyes. "Good, because I'm never letting you go."